The quality of your questions, how do they measure up? First up, reps as problem solvers. In truth, any rep can gather facts, but the outstanding rep ignites the emotions of prospective clients and uncovers what motivates them to act. And most reps don't know how to spur people to action. Either they fear uncovering real prospect emotions, or they're unsure about what to do once those emotions come to the surface. Although your usual list of prospect prompting questions might garner an adequate amount of information, C.A.R.S questioning techniques will ensure that you gain access to all of the facts you need in order to sign up the prospects you want. Just asking engaging questions, though, will not guarantee of themselves a positive or constructive outcome. Some prospects will not yet be ready to admit they need to take action. At other times, a person will not be the genuine best fit. Engaging questions, however, will allow you to see these issues early on and to determine the right course of action, be that go get it or forget it for each prospective agent. Understanding your prospects and getting into their psyche will allow you to ask better questions and get higher quality information. To do this, you need to know experientially where your prospects are coming from and what motivates them. Just like you, your prospects are motivated to improve their standard of living, increase their revenue, improve what they derive from each hour they work, upgrade their perception by others, and or achieve the better recognition they feel they deserve. Asking unasked questions, also known as replying to prospect statements. Sometimes what sounds like a question is actually just a statement. For example, the prospect says, the entry requirements are too high. That's a statement and not a question. As such, it doesn't necessarily demand a reply, although your basic human nature might be to seek to answer it or otherwise accommodate it. It's often consciously or subconsciously designed to pressure the rep, and the prospect is looking for a response or evidence of some squirm or discomfort on the part of the rep. You can shift the pressure back to the prospect by helping the prospect convert the statement into a question.
The entry requirements are too high.
Which means?
Here are some variations on the same issue.
The entry requirements are too high.
And?
The entry requirements are too high.
What's your thought?
The entry requirements are too high.
What makes you say that?
The entry requirements are too high.
In what respect?
This looks like just another common unproven offering requiring money up front.
How so?
I'm really uncomfortable right now.
Uncomfortable in what way?
I think this matter needs to be settled.
Settled means?
Because the prospect most likely will not introduce their financial situation into the conversation, there is no way for you to know how to answer comments like the entry requirements are too high. Traditionally, reps are trained to say, high by how much? Which implies that there's a validity in the prospect's comment and that you're invited to take a negotiative stand with regard to entry requirements currently perceived as too high. One thing to have in mind, there's a difference between reporting and objecting. Reporting the entry requirements as too high may be the prospect's way of dealing with stress and not necessarily an invitation to negotiate entry requirements. Objecting to the entry requirements means that the prospect may want to negotiate or may have other issues. For example, a reporting prospect may say,
this all looks good, but the entry requirements are too high.
Which means?
Which means you're going to have to talk about lowering them if you want me to be a cash card agent.
Which can be a real or make-believe minor financial dilemma the prospect wants to hand off to the rep. The rep may then reply,
In what way are the requirements too high?
Or the rep may respond by saying,
I'm not sure I understand. How does this compare to other situations you're looking at?
which is a polite business-style request to have the prospect articulate their concerns in real terms. Or the prospect may reply,
which means you're going to have to get them down because my wife is not going to like me spending that kind of money for a surety bond right now.
which has just revealed a spousal approval situation.
What's your wife indicate would be reasonable?
It's likely this has never been discussed between the prospect and his wife. You can, during this conversation, make a value comparison of being a cash card agent to other career options on a bang-for-buck basis. If bond cost remains a sticking point, you can have the prospect accept talking to their spouse as their assignment. If your prospect is dominated by their spouse or otherwise unwilling to take up this matter with their spouse, they may not be an acceptably strong agent candidate. Or the prospect may reply,
Which means I don't see the value here.
which is an indicator that the rep may have failed to convey cash card business practice value to the prospect. The rep might then continue,
Where do you see a value imbalance?
you're now having the prospect, as they say, put their money where their mouth is. You're asking for proof. This isn't confrontational. You're merely probing for the prospect's specific discomfort with perceived value. The bottom line to all of this is, unless you use the reverse, you'll seldom be exactly sure what the prospect is thinking or of their base motives. Reversing will not only help you determine those, but will engage the prospect in discussing them and discovering them for themselves. Continue to visualize yourself as the conversation moderator. As you know, a tool is only as effective as the person using it. Similarly, questions are only as effective as the rep posing them. Achieve the full power and hidden value of questions by guarding against alienating the prospect or sounding manipulative. The upcoming tips will help you realize the benefits of questions without raising a prospect's suspicions. First, listen with every ounce of concentration you can muster. Your goal is to understand this person as fully as possible. Listen carefully to the answers your questions evoke. Good listening also tells you what question to ask next. Listen with your eyes as well as your ears. The prospect is always talking even when his or her mouth is closed. Monitor physical signs of discomfort, nervousness, and anxiety. Your questions will put some pressure on prospects, but you don't want to go too far. Next, assume the role of a coach consultant, not inquisitor prosecutor. If your questions are judgmental,
Why would you make a statement like that?
or accusatory,
How do I know you aren't just giving me the runaround?
you can expect to be asked to leave. Ask questions to help, not indict. Fourth, nurture prospects, and then nurture them again. Head off any discomfort they may have with your questions. Convey the impression that you want to help them reduce pain. Say things like this before or during your questioning.
The more we talk about your need, the sooner we'll resolve it. I'll be asking you some questions today to understand your needs. Is that okay? If any of my questions trouble you, let me know so we can talk about it. The more I understand your situation, the more I can help you. I think a few questions might help us clarify some issues.
Fifth, monitor and control your body language. Coaches and consultants project a supportive, non-threatening demeanor. They put the prospect at ease. Inquisitors and prosecutors, on the other hand, project superiority and moral certitude. They make the person feel uncomfortable. Project the former style, not the latter. Sixth, use softening statements. Take the edge off your questions with lead-ins like these.
I wonder if I might ask you a question. I'd like to probe that a little further. I'm a little confused. Do you mean, could you please help me out? What you just said raises an important question.
Next, aim for a 70 to 30 question to statement ratio in your dialogue. You will raise suspicions if you only ask questions. The same ratio applies to your conversation with the prospect. Seek to talk only about 30% of the time, leaving the rest of time for the prospect to respond to you. Eighth, provide direct answers. When the prospect feels you're answering too many questions with questions and wants a specific response, give it. Answering questions with questions, e.g., that's a great question, why are you interested in, is a powerful technique as long as it doesn't frustrate the questionnaire. When the prospect's demeanor and or your gut tell you the prospect wants specific information now, provide it. And last, manifest appreciation. As the prospect provides responses, occasionally thank them for answering your questions. Just as you are not required to answer every question prospects pose, neither are they obligated to answer each of your questions. Periodically, thank the person for candor and responsiveness, as in, thanks, I appreciate your honesty, or I sure appreciate your factual replies. Question quality, the conclusion. According to 20th century French anthropologist and ethnologist Claude Lévi-Strauss, the wise man doesn't give the right answers. He instead poses the right questions. Breaking away from traditional rep approaches in training, the most experienced and thorough thinking professionals maintain that constructive representation is about what you ask, not what you say. We appreciate that it might seem at first as if you were going through your professional life constantly asking questions. You are assured that that will not be the case. Most of what you're doing is sharpening your dialogue and making it more productive. The beauty of asking questions is that you're prompting the other person to do most of the talking and most of the revealing. In harmony with your planning and preparation, once you have posed a few well thought out questions in your own style and worded in your own natural way, your clients will have more than a little information they'll share with you. At that point, your responsibility becomes one of listening carefully to their answers, appropriately responding and following up with fitting questions, and then guiding the prospect to your offer via your crafted dialogue. While it might be a bit of an initial struggle to let your prospects do the majority of the talking, you'll soon come to see that their words will help you provide them with the most viable solution.